a great new premium offering we have from our bets guy, Keg. He has been crushing it so much with his live betting streams that we decided to spin off his Keg Cats into a premium feature.
The first 5 shows, we were profitable, all 5 shows. The show was up like 15 units about, and, I crush.
Subscribe today for just $10 a week and gain access to all of Keg's live betting streams covering tons of sports, including the NFL playoffs, MMA betting every week, PGA, March Madness, the NBA, and NASCAR. Last season, Keg and the crew crushed in NASCAR with cashes in over 30 races for well over 130 units of live profit.
Put it on the boy for your boy Keg to get Blaney home at 14-1. Put it on the board for your guy Keg to get that Larson top 5 plus 105 home. Let's go!
Learn how to live bet and tail Keg and his crew with this amazing subscription offering. Also included is access into an exclusive Discord channel reserved for Keg's subscribers. Last reminder that it's only $10 a week, so get on board today with Keg and keep running pure.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood Show. I am your host, Mangone. I am here with Hoop. I'm here with JT, and Hoop has said it. It's a little brighter when JT's here, right? It's always a fun Friday. Friday's always a great day. The people love it. We got Winnie in the background as well. Hoop, how is your Friday?
Going well. Looking forward to it. I mean, Friday's my favorite day of the week, not because the weekend is here, but because I get to spend the afternoon with my favorite Mr. JT Hayes. Looking forward to it, breaking down the NBA slate. PGA is in full swing. Everything's looking up today, so it's a good day. And like I said, any day I get to spend with JT is a bonus, and it looks like Travis is having some technical difficulties. So JT, Friday, it's an exciting day, and like I said, I get to see your face, so it can't be any better.
Yeah, happy Friday. I was concerned there for a minute that Chris Hansen or some other federal agents were at the door there, and Travis was trying to jump out the window, sneak out, but it looks like he's back. Hopefully you didn't put a piece of lead in anybody to keep them at bay. Yeah, it's Friday. Excited, huge slate, 11 games, very exciting. And I already know who the Eiffel Tower play of the day is going to be. I already know. Seemed pretty clear, seemed pretty easy to me. I don't think either of you guys are going to be on this guy, but what I'd like the chat to do, in addition to hitting the like button, subscribing to the fucking channel, how many times do we have to talk about this? Try and guess the Eiffel Tower play of the day. Let's have a little fun. It's Friday. Grab your favorite cocktail. We're going to enjoy and get into this slate and get in the green.
Yeah, and we got everything hooked up. I got the Ethernet in now, so we are good to go. Don't worry. We're ready to rock. Excited to be here with you guys and break down this NBA slate. And we got a big one today. I mean, the schedule, it's been a little wonky. It's been 2 games, 3 games, then we got 13. Today we got 2, 4, 6, 8. We got over 10 games. I think 11 of them altogether. And the one weird thing is the Bucks are playing the Knicks. Last game on the slate starting at 10 o'clock Eastern. That was one of the weird things I noticed. And we got tons and tons of news that we will be getting. And that is the reason why you got to get into that Discord chat to be able to get all those updates. And not only the updates, JT, we got to get those charts from our boy K Falik. We feel like he's been doing a better job, but I think he could pick it up in the chart department. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, a little bit lazy this week. We got some charts early in the week that were really helpful. By the way you spell charts is CHART and about 7 or 8 Z's. However many you feel comfortable. But however many you feel comfortable, go ahead and hit him up in his DMs, tag him in the NBA Discord, let him know that he needs to get in the chat for the show. He needs to participate, put out some charts while we are talking, request those from him. He loves it. He loves the engagement. Anyone who's chatted with K Falik knows, never gets in a bad mood, always happy, a ray of sunshine. He will make those charts with winners tonight.
And I will say, with a lot of industries falling on rough times now, the water filtration industry or whatever it is that K-Falik is into must be flourishing, because I mean the charts are just like second fiddle now to K-Falik's real thing that he has going on, which I know is something in the water filtration or cleaning industry, because man, the charts are just the second man now in K-Falik's life. It's got to hurt.
Yeah, it's a busy time for anyone with like $1. They're spending it on all sorts of nonsense. So I think he's selling water filtration kits for toilets, for hot tubs, for public parks. I mean, he's busy. He's busy, but nonetheless, hit him up. He'll take the time out.
Yeah, definitely hit him up. And man, the water business must be booming. And you must not be buying the dip right now. It must be just absolutely flourishing. It's not like some of those other markets out there that people are freaking out about. But yeah, we got a nice little slate for you. And also, Falik, enough with these pie charts, okay? Bring us the old ones. You're getting lazy. We want the old stuff. We want the things that actually work. Am I right, JT?
That's a good point. There's a difference between a chart and what was the thing he threw out the other day? It was, in a word, it was hurtful. It was a little circle with some thing. It just didn't make any sense.
Yep. And remember, he always loves to get those DMs between like 6:45 Eastern to 7, but now too as well. Those are perfect times to hit him up. And let's get into this slate though. Hoop, this is a big slate. And I think it's one of those nights where you look at the injury report and there's just questionable tags everywhere. It feels like a great night. Like I said, I think I said it last week, order some pizza. Don't plan on going out to dinner with the lady. I think that's a mistake tonight, because you got to adjust your lineups, I think, all night long, it seems like. Or maybe you pull the big T 777 and don't care about news and just jump out ahead and let everyone catch you. What's your kind of overall view on this slate, Hoop?
Yeah, the wife was taking the kids to a store, and she goes, "Do you want us to wait for you for dinner tonight?" And I said, "You know what, honey?" I said, "Tonight it's not one of those nights where we can wing it and head out early. So we're locked in here. The news is, I mean, the slate is just about the news, and the biggest news lies with the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, all their guys are listed as questionable in the game tonight. It's a 7:30 Eastern game. And that will really dictate everything on this slate. So we need this news. Should get it before lock, but you got to be ready to roll with whatever happens, because I think it could go a variety of different ways. We'll break it all down when we get to that game. But there's other big news too that will be waiting on this slate. So right now it's really hard to say I'm locking in this guy, I'm locked in on that game. It could all change tonight. 11 games, and like I said, that Lakers one, very, very important.
Yep, tons and tons of news that we will get to. We'll dive in. We'll go in early, and I'm sure we'll be getting news throughout the show, and we'll break it down as we get it. Let's kick it off with the first game, and this is not the game the request to put on Hoop. No one wants to watch the Magic and the Pistons. I'll tell you that right now. Cole Anthony is 6'8", and Jalen Suggs is at 6'1", and those are some interesting price tags on those guys. Even Franz Wagner at 5'6". I could get behind it, but I just don't know if I want to lock into these guys. This is also one of those slates where there's one game starting at 7:00 Eastern, just one. Why on earth would I lock into Pistons Magic? I feel like it's a good idea to backload this thing up. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you got here with this Magic and Pistons game?
Yeah, I mean, it is tough if we don't have the Lakers news, at 7 p.m. Eastern to really go overboard here. But I do think there are some pretty decent plays here. And you kind of touched on the guys. Cole Anthony at 6'8" and Wagner at 5'6". You look at Wagner playing a ton of minutes, 34, 38, 38, 34 minutes. He's been very productive. Over 34 fantasy points 2 games ago, 42 last game out. He's shooting the ball, 14 shots, 12 shots. Andy's capable of contributing in other categories, rebounds, assists. He's very active out there, steals and blocks. I definitely have interest in him at 5.6K, and then Cole Anthony also at 6.8K. I mean, these are two really bad teams, but they're facing each other. So one team's going to win here, and they probably go all out to kind of win this game. Cade Cunningham in tournaments, 7.7K, I think, is another tournament sleeper play. Now, these guys are hard to play, like I said, if you don't get that news with the Lakers, which is 30 minutes after this. But in full 150, if you're doing full 150, I want some exposure to Cade. I want some exposure to Cole Anthony and Wagner. prefer to kind of pair them up and hope this is a back and forth type battle between two crappy teams in the NBA. Outside of those three guys, though, I won't be playing anything else, but I do think they're all interesting plays tonight.
All right, I'll go over to you, JT. I agree with what Hoop says. I mean, there are guys, but I do sometimes just kind of say, I don't even care what that game is. Are these plays that much better where I need to put them in where it can mess up my construction later on for stuff that I don't know what's going to happen? So that's how I'm leaning right now. I do think that there's some opportunity here with these guys. Maybe Wagner might be my favorite just because of the small forward position. It seems like, at least at this current time, maybe it's better than taking up a guard spot with one of those guys in Suggs and Anthony. How do you feel about that? And then how do you feel about this game as a whole compared to some of these other games that we got starting like only 30 minutes later with some big news?
At 2:15 total, first game of the night, when, Hoop talked about it. We've got so many teams with news, and the piece to me that's interesting here of all these teams, lots of, we talked about the Lakers here, but the Minnesota Timberwolves, you've got D'Angelo Russell questionable, Beverly is questionable again, and then midday, Jared Vanderbilt questionable, with McDaniels playing 32 minutes last night. There's maybe some cheap options at power forward, even at center, in that game that starts at 9:00 Eastern. So when I looked at this game before some of this news came out, I looked at some of the guys that were underpriced. Cole Anthony is, at that same price point as he was last game. Wendell Carter Jr., his price actually came down quite a bit now, under 7K, just 6.7. And then even though the Pistons are hard to play, we see the upside with Cade, and then Trey Lyles is now down under 5K. He's been getting about 25 minutes a night. It's one of the best matchups for opposing centers. The problem is, of course, do I want to play Trey Lyles with, we know, news coming later? So I think I'm probably going to be mostly off of these plays in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think unless we get the news ahead of time, then I can adjust some stuff up properly. I don't think I'm going to go too much to these guys here. Let's shift on over to the next game. Let's talk about the Boston Celtics and the Atlanta Hawks. And there are some interesting options here. I struggle with what to do with some of these Celtics. They seem a little crowded for my liking here. I mean, Hoop, you've talked about it a bunch. When we got Horford and Williams, there's no need to go there. Hawks, I think Trae Young's an interesting spend up option that you could be contrarian with, but I just don't think I need to go to these teams right now. I think the price tags have gone up. I don't hate DeAndre Hunter at his 5.2 price tag, but not someone I'm just jamming into my lineups. More of like maybe a last guy in. How about you? This feels like a game that, it's going to be competitive. You could make an argument that some of these guys can get here, but I just don't think I need to be slamming guys from this game into my lineups.
Yeah, I mean, actually, way more interest in the Pistons Hawks guys than anyone else in this game. I mean, Celtics are a perfect team on an 11-game slate to fade when they're at full strength. They're at full strength. I mean, we've been doing this all season long, and it's worked out. I mean, it really hasn't punished us, where it's like you need Celtics guys on full slates to win. It hasn't happened when they're at full strength. So I'll continue to fade the Celtics on these full slates when they're at full strength. Then the Hawks, individually, I like some of these guys, but when you consider the circumstances of this slate where we're going to have a bunch of news, I don't think I can pay the 10-6 for Trae Young. We were riding them for a while earlier on in the season, but they're starting to get healthy. I don't need to go there. Capella's not playing a ton of minutes right now. John Collins the same. The prices look good on those guys, but I just don't think you need to go there on this slate. They're getting healthy. This is a great game, I think, to fade and cross off. It's 7:30 Eastern spot, so 30 minutes after lock. I see nothing that I need to play here.
Yeah, and another reason why maybe we don't like this game and the other game before, we had a little interest, but not a ton. It's we have interest in this Lakers game that's coming up. And then you also have all the other games that start later on from then. So it's just one of those slates where backloading, I think, makes a lot of sense because who knows what could be coming. JT, let's go over to you. Maybe I'm wrong, but Hawks and Celtics doesn't seem like a spot that I definitely want to go to. I guess you could make the argument Jason Tatum has a ceiling. He can easily go off for a big game. So if you wanted to have a really contrarian spend up small forward, I think Jason Tatum could be that option, but he's not the option for me. How about you? Are you going to go to any of these guys in your lineups today?
There is some news in this game that could change that, although I think it's more precautionary when you have Hunter and Gallinari listed as questionable. If they play, you've got so many of these guys. Bogdanovich, Robert, who is in the chat and had to change his name. Welcome back under your new name, Robert. He was looking at Bogdanović. He's going to be on a minutes limit. You've just got so many bodies there. Hoop talked about Capella and Collins playing 20, 25 minutes, and not just when they're blowing out crappy teams like the Kings. This is kind of something that they're doing now. They're getting Okongwu involved. They're trying to keep these guys fresh, trying to keep these guys healthy. They've got a lot of guys who are injury prone, like Bogdanović. So unless the news breaks where both Hunter and Gallo miss, that would make me interested in both Collins and Capella at their prices under 7K. Otherwise, I'm off this game. And if Hunter plays, this Hawks defense has been much, much better since DeAndre Hunter has come back. They have slowed down the opposition quite a bit. A lot of these Celtics coming off big games, playing against the Kings the other night. I'm going to be off them tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to bring up that injury news. And I guess one reason I overlooked it is like, I'm thinking about the Lakers, and I feel like a lot of those guys are going to sit. And if that's the case, I think it's just going to trump a lot of the news on the Hawks side. But you could like a Kevin Huerter at 4.7. I do think he has a really nice ceiling at that price and could get the job done. You make good points on those big men at that mid 6K range. They feel more like last guys into me because I think the construction, I think it's going to lead to very stars and scrubs. I mean, but it depends on the Lakers news, right? I'm kind of thinking that those guys are going to be out. JT, let's just shift right over to that game and go to you. What do you think is going to happen with this news? Because this is obviously the biggest thing on this slate. We'll probably spend a lot of time on it. We got AD, questionable, who obviously came back from that injury and has been on that minutes limit, and it's off of a back-to-back. Avery Bradley, questionable. LeBron James, questionable, who did not play last night. Russell Westbrook is questionable as well. So what are you kind of thinking with all this news? Because I'm leaning that a lot of these guys are out. You could see LeBron randomly just pop up and play, those other two guys not play, but it does just feel like a great spot to just rest all these guys, just kind of punt the game and then just get your health back for the future games coming up. What do you think, JT?
Yeah, so let me clarify first on Capella and Collins. That's only if Hunter and Gallo are out, because now you've got a lot more minutes in there, right? On the Lakers news, what do I think is going to happen? What do I think Frank Vogel is going to do? Who the fuck knows? Every single day, guys are questionable. Every single day, oh, LeBron is questionable. LeBron's probable. Now AD might play. What do I think before this news came out midday that all these guys were questionable and they ruled Monk out? I thought you would see Davis sit, and I thought you would see LeBron and Westbrook in. Now, what they all come up as questionable midday, look, Frank Vogel's just not predictable. And that, I think, throws the biggest wrench into this slate, because if you pass on some of these cheaper guys in the Orlando and Detroit game, and all of a sudden, let's say Davis is the only one that sits, right? Who are we going to be interested in? I mean, I don't know that I'm really all that interested in Carmelo Anthony on this slate. If all those guys are out, it opens up guys like Austin Reeves. It opens up THT. Dwight Howard's 3-1, but I'm probably still not going to play him. So a lot depends on that. We're not guaranteed to have that news before 7 o'clock, which is lock for that first game. So that's a decision that I think you have to make here. Again, there is news with these other teams. New Orleans has guys, Minnesota, that I talked about. So not real sure. Earlier in the day, I was pretty confident that LeBron was going to play. Now I just don't know what to expect.
Yeah, and we got robbed of our Malik Monk revenge game. I mean, come on, in Charlotte. Also, the chat, Chris Myers mentioned Dennis Schroeder, a little revenge night for him against Atlanta. But here's the thing, it's Peyton Pritchard's birthday, so he's going to steal enough minutes from Schroeder where I don't think that works out. Are you attending Peyton Pritchard's birthday party tonight, JT, with the parents?
No, I didn't know it was his birthday. Thank you for telling me.
I threw you off there. Very good. That means I'm doing my job. So got JT all flustered. That's a great start to the show. Hoop, let's go over to you. Let's talk about this Lakers game, because it's the game of the night, right? You could lock yourself into so many of these guys. We could also get it where AD sits, Westbrook sits, and then LeBron plays, and then maybe he becomes like the stud to jam into your lineups, and maybe people don't adjust to it properly. There's a lot of ways this can go. What's your current read on this situation? Because it's definitely a tough spot to figure out right now without knowing for sure what Frank Vogel is going to do.
Yeah, it's a very tough situation to really sort out. I mean, you have to imagine they want to like win this game. So I'm kind of leaning more towards like LeBron playing and maybe Westbrook. But we'll see. I mean, Monk's out too. Maybe they just punt the whole thing and say, all right, screw it. Back-to-back losses. Let's move on. I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to know. I currently think LeBron, out of all these guys questionable, I think LeBron is the most likely to play. And then Westbrook, it seems pretty certain that Anthony Davis would be sitting out here, though. So we'll have to see. 7:30 Eastern. We'll either get it here or they'll get it on the Up the Lock show and they'll break it all down. But, if a majority of these guys are out, like Horton Tucker is going to be needed here in a big way. Dwight Howard will be needed in a big way. I mean, the dicey part is like Carmelo Anthony. Do you really want to play Carmelo Anthony on an 11-game slate? So it just really depends on who's all in and who's out. And like I said, should get this either on this show or on the Up the Lock show with JSU, Big T, and Holden. Then on the Hornet side, they have some injury situations as well. Gordon Hayward out, Kelly Oubre questionable, Jalen McDaniels still out. Haven't played a ton of Miles Bridges this year. He's had a phenomenal season though. He could have a big game here. I think he's in play. Lamelo Ball at 8.4K on DK is just a bad price. Really, really like Lamelo here. I think he's a very, very strong option. He'll be popular though, very popular because of the price tag. Cody Martin, if he is in that starting lineup, 4.4K. I don't think he's the worst value play in the world, but the big thing here is LaMelo for sure on the Hornet side. Then in terms of Lakers, we just have to see who's in and out, and the news we should have enough time before lock to really make the important decisions on the Lakers guys.
Hoop, how are you handling LaMelo tonight? Because it feels like, I didn't play him the other day, and it feels like when I jump on the train today, it's just going to be like 2 instant fouls. I get only 25 minutes tonight in one of like the best matchups you can find. Like, especially even if Westbrook and all those guys play, like it's still a great matchup. And if those guys don't play, well, he's playing like a G League roster almost. Like it's just an absolute disaster. So what do you do with LaMelo? Because he feels like one of the biggest decision points on this slate, because 8.4K, it just seems like it's too cheap, but there is also some risk to him because of his floor and the minutes, the coach, and the foul trouble that he can always come up with.
Yeah, I'd have a hard time like not playing him here with Gordon Hayward out, potentially Kelly Oubre out. Good matchup. I kind of hope that like at least Russ plays, because Russ is just such a disaster now on the defense. I am so upset with myself yesterday. Didn't have a show in the Discord chat. Like, who's the Rich Parents Play of the Day? Rich Parents Play of the Day has been crushing. Rich Parents Play of the Day has been smashing in PGA, NBA. And I put the fucking hot streak on the line with Russell Westbrook. Like, what a moron. Like, what a dumb thing on my part. Russell Westbrook. All this good momentum, good mojo. And I say Russell Westbrook. Like, that's so pathetic. He sucks. I hope he plays tonight because LaMelo will have a huge shape. To answer your question, though, I think you have to play LaMelo here. That price tag is just way too good with Hayward out, Oubre potentially out, and then this matchup with this poor Lakers defense against guards.
Well, the good news is we got the good mojo here. We got JT to bring that Rich Parents Play of the Day back up and going.
Saving it for tonight. I punted yesterday. I was like, you know what? We got to cool things off, and then we're going to heat it back up on Friday with JT.
Yeah, it's just a 2-game slate. No big deal. So this is the Friday night big slates. This is where the money's won. So JT, what about you with LaMelo Ball? Because he has a tough decision to make. I think he's a really great play, but there is risk to him. I do think he's one of the bigger guys to talk about on this slate because he's going to come in with a really high ownership, I think, on this slate. But his ceiling at 8.4 is it's incredible.
Yeah, I think he's a good play. I think with a lot of these guys coming off of games like he just had, right? 69, ka-ching, fantasy points against the Pacers. There's another point guard playing the Pacers tonight that we'll talk about, a little bit more expensive. But why wouldn't it be Rozier that has the big game tonight for just a little bit cheaper? Could be him. Hoop mentioned Bridges. Bridges priced down now to 7.6. So I think that's the way that I'll approach these guys, is play one of those guys and pivot off of LaMelo when I know the other night when LaMelo went off, he was like 16% owned. Depending on what happens with news tonight, he may approach 35, 40% owned here because of that bias of people seeing him finally have a big game. Well, 2 weeks before that, you played him, you were losing money. So I think the way I approach it tonight is I fade. I'll take my chances with Rozier or with Bridges on the Charlotte side, see what happens with the Lakers.
All right. And JT, I want you, while I go into this next game, I want you to look at that dumb pie chart that K Fallick posted. Very hurtful. He posted one making fun of me. And one of them, JT, and I think he'll have my back here. He said the schedule being late. Well, the schedule, ever since he complained, it's been up. And I haven't seen a damn chart in a minute, it feels like. So I mean, check out that pie chart. K Falik posted. He's firing some shots. It's very hurtful, but we can move on over to the next game while you check that out. We got the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, which I cannot wait to talk about because I think this is a really interesting game. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 9.3K, he has a nice ceiling, I think, at that price still. And he's going to be lower owned because people are just going to go to Lamelo Ball instead. They're going to go to a John Morant, who's a little more expensive. I think he's in play. I think Karis LeVert is in play as a contrarian option. I think Lou Dort is someone that you can go to as a cheap option that could get the job done at 5.4K. There's a lot of guys I think you can play here. Hoop, it's not the most glamorous game, but I do think it's a game that you can kind of take some stabs at some guys. What are you doing here with the OKC Thunder and the Indiana Pacers with only a 1-point spread? So it should be competitive and close.
Yeah, I like the SGA call. SGA is a guy that's been playing really well. I mean, the biggest risk to playing SGA on most nights is the fact that he plays for the Thunder and they fucking suck. So the chance of them getting blown out are relatively high on a nightly basis. Well, tonight they get this crappy Pacers team at home, basically a pick 'em here. 9.3K should be low owned, and you're looking at a guy that's been 57, 59 fantasy points, had a 52 spot 5 games ago, 48 spot. So really it's only busted once in the last 5 games, playing high level basketball, gets a chance to play in a competitive game, which is the most important thing for him. It's the only guy though that I'd consider on the Thunder side. And potentially in this game, Sabonis sounds like he could be coming back today. Like if Sabonis comes back today, that takes enough away from LeVert where I can't play him at 8.8, and then Sabonis at 10.4 is just priced way too high. I can't go there. So SGA is the only guy here, and I think he's a very strong play tonight at most likely low ownership.
All right, JT, I don't know if you saw the chart, address K Falik. And then after that, let's talk about this game because I think there's some interesting options here. Hoop likes SGA. I like SGA. I'm curious to see if you are interested as well.
Yeah, K Falik loves the engagement. That's what I love about it. He says, you remember the other day we were asking him for charts. I don't have time. I'm far too busy. He whips this one out in 15 seconds because we engaged him. He loves it. And I've gotta take umbrage with him saying that you reuse old jokes because you know what? We started off first game on the slate, Detroit, Orlando, not one Detroit joke towards Hoop. And I got to give you credit because you refrained. I know you probably wanted to, but you were like, you know what? I'm not going to do it tonight. So there you go. K Falik, thank you for that chart. Let's get a little bit more useful charts up in the chat. Let's try and maybe get a tick up on the tempo here. And for people watching, hit the like button, subscribe, and guess the Eiffel Tower play of the day. It's not SGA, but I love SGA tonight. I think that if you're evaluating, are you going to play SGA or LaMelo? Yes, there's a $900 price difference. Difference is Shai is the guy on that team. He is the only guy that can keep that team in games right now. And I like him quite a bit here. With LaMelo, like I said, you have these other guys who can have big nights, and he will let them have the spotlight. With the Thunder, if they're going to be competitive, it's going to be Shai. The other guy that I'm mildly interested in, probably not going to have a lot of, but I just want to mention him because the minutes have ticked up. He's been playing better. This is a team in Indiana that can be had down around the basket. It's Robinson Earl, just 3.8K on DraftKings. He's had some decent games here lately, even in only 24, 25 minutes. Like I said, I think there's enough value, especially late if we get the right news, that it'll probably keep me off him, but definitely going to have a lot of Shai in my lineups tonight.
Yep, I think Shai is the best one here in this game. Also, Sabonis could be back, but I'm not going to pay that price tag right now on Sabonis. I'm out on that. We'll have to see. And of course, if Sabonis ends up playing, then that's going to hurt LeVert some. So yeah, definitely some news to watch here in this game. Nothing that's huge though. Let's move on over to the next game. And this is a game that you could ask K Falik to bring out a chart for because it's the Utah Jazz, it's the Memphis Grizzlies. And this is a game that we've seen these guys kind of play without their players for a little bit. We have enough data or sample size, as Falik likes to say, I think, to really figure out these rotations. And I think we have a really good spot here for a lot of these guys. Hassan Whiteside is 6'9", which feels like a lot here in this spot. I don't know if I want to go there with my center position, but I do think he could get the job done at the price. I think that Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson, they're better FanDuel plays than DK plays. If you look at the price tags, that's definitely worth mentioning there because they are way cheaper over on FanDuel. Conley has the price of 5.8 on FanDuel, while DK, he's 7.1K. And then Jordan Clarkson, his price tag is 5.7. And then on DK, 7.2. So that's where I would want to get my Jazz exposure. I don't think I want to pay those price tags as much, especially because we've talked about some spend up guards that we already might like a lot. And here's another spend up guard that I like a lot. It's Ja Morant at 10.3K. It still feels like it's too cheap right now. I'm a big fan of Ja. They don't have any ball handlers really off the bench that can do too much to mess up the situation for him. So I think Ja is one of the better spend ups on this slate. Hoop, I'll go over to you. I feel like you've been playing Ja a lot too. We've talked about him a ton. What are you doing with him? And then what are you doing with some of these other options in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much nailed it. Like, I agree with everything you said. Like, I'm not really paying these Jazz price tags on DK. If you go over to FanDuel, much more in play, like Conley and Jordan Clarkson. I'm not paying 7-1 for Conley. I'm not paying 7-2 for Clarkson, but on FanDuel, the prices are much better. Hassan Whiteside at 6'9". It's getting to an uncomfortable place, but, you know, he's playing a lot of minutes, 32, 34 minutes, and we know what he's capable of. He's the one that would be most likely to play on DraftKings at 6'9". Not a core play. Center, I will say, is, again, just loaded on DK. I mean, so many really good center options. So that's kind of a big takeaway for Whiteside. But, you know, if I had 6'9", for my last spot, I'd be fine going to a guy like Whiteside. Ja Morant's amazing. Like you said, has been playing just MVP level type basketball, fantasy wise, 67, 56, 60, 64 fantasy points, 39 minutes, 37 minutes, 41, 38, just playing a ton of minutes, doing everything. And he has to really with this roster. So definitely like Morant here. It's a price point people aren't comfortable with going, 10-3 for Morant. Last year we were paying in like the 7K, 8K range for Morant. But, the 10-3 price tag, it's definitely warranted because of how well he's played. Desmond Bane in tournaments, somewhat interesting. You look at Steven Adams, probably going to have to play a little bit more here, 4-7. The problem with Adams, though, again, center is so loaded. It's really hard to play a low floor guy in Adams. So the plays here for me are Morant for sure, Whiteside maybe, and then the guards on FanDuel for the Jazz in Conley and Clarkson. But that's about it, though, in this game.
All right, JT, what do you think of Ja Morant here? What do you think of Desmond Bane at 6.1? It does feel like after the first game, he played 33 minutes. I think you could take a shot on a Desmond Bane here. He'd be really low owned, and the price tag was at 6.8 in this role, and now it's 6.1. I don't think he's a terrible contrarian option, but I don't know if you need to do it on this slate, especially if we're waiting on news. Feels like a guy, if I kind of have like a chalkier lineup and I fall into Desmond Bane, I'm fine with it. But I also don't know if I want to pair it up with a Ja Morant too. I think that would matter as well. But what are you doing here with Ja? Because he is the key, I think, to start off with this game.
I don't know. Again, a lot depends on news. But if news comes out and you're going to play all those cheap Lakers and then you're going to go heavier on 2 or 3 guys that are up in that 10K range, then it becomes a choice of, do you want to have the same lineup as almost everybody else? And that's where I think guys like Bane at 6.1 are going to fall by the wayside because people are going to go to that same construction. I don't know how I feel about Ja in this matchup, but with Mike Conley being Mike Conley, it has been a good matchup for guards. I just think there are other guys at a little bit lower price points that have better matchups. We just talked about SGA. I would play Shea over Ja tonight. That's what I would do simply because Bane is back. I think Bane has a big game here. Definitely not playing any of those Jazz guys, not even Whiteside on DraftKings at those prices. And not only are there a lot of good center plays tonight, I mean, the Grizzlies have like 5 or 6 centers. And I think now that all those guys are healthy, even though Jackson had a decent game last game going for 44 DK against the Spurs, it's just a spot where I think it's kind of guesswork of who's going to get those extra 4 or 5 minutes and maybe be able to get up to a ceiling game.
All right. We don't got too much else to talk about this game. We got a big game coming up to talk about. And I've already requested a chart because our boy K Falik knows the Gabe Vincents and Max Strusses very well. And we need to talk about the Heat and the Clippers because this is a big game to discuss. I think these Heat options are in play. I think these are guys that you can consider like Bam Adebayo, because we got Jimmy Butler questionable. And that's huge news that we're waiting on as well. That could change the slate up a ton. Maybe you don't get the Lakers news to fall your way. Maybe you just kind of sit back, relax, and wait for this news and then try and adjust from there. So I think that the Jimmy Butler news is really big. Hoop, how are you handling it? Because I think if Jimmy is out, and even if Jimmy was in, I think you could play Bam Adebayo. But if Jimmy's out, Bam then just becomes like, I don't know, one of the best plays on the slate, possibly at 7.5K. And on top of that, it's like he takes up one of those center spots we talked about, which hurts some of those other center options that we can't be rostering.
Yeah, another reason why it's hard to really, load up on Pistons Magic. And, it's the standalone 7 p.m. Eastern. And we could get this news. Maybe we get it before. But it's almost like you probably want to cross off that 7 p.m. Eastern game if we don't have both of the Lakers news and the Jimmy Butler news. Because if Butler's out, Bam Adebayo goes from a good play, a guy that's already in play at 7.5K, to a priority. Tyler Hero at 6'4" on DK goes from a fringe play to an elite play. Gabe Vincent has been playing very well at 5.1K. You're going to get a lot of minutes from him and a huge boost in usage. Duncan Robinson hasn't been great this year, but at 4.3, actually he's been good lately. Wow, he's been knocking down some shots. At 4.3, he becomes a value play too. So really need to see this news on Jimmy Butler and whether or not he's in or out. The Clippers, a team that for the most part I just don't play. It's worked out pretty well. The one guy I have some interest in would be Terrence Mann. 4K is a good price. They probably could only consider him if all those Lakers guys are in, and then Jimmy Butler plays too, because if the Lakers guys are out and Jimmy Butler's out, we're going to have so much value to look at. If we whiff on all that value, I'd be fine with a guy like Terrence Mann at 4K. But this game, it all depends on Jimmy Butler, whether or not he's in or out.
Yeah, definitely going to be big news with Jimmy Butler being in or out. And if Jimmy happened to be in, like you could play him and he'll just virtually be unowned at that small forward position, which I talked about before. I don't think a lot of people are spending up at that spot. So that's definitely an interesting way that you can go on this slate. But I definitely would like Bam. Duncan Robinson, that was a good call on him. And he's at 4.3, and he's also back to shooting guard eligible, where he's been bounced around, it seems like, his position. So at that shooting guard spot, I definitely don't hate that. I think it's worth mentioning. Tyler Hero too. He would definitely get a little bit of a bump. And 6'4" it's not the greatest tag, but I think he would be in play. On the opposite side, those Clippers, we didn't talk too much about him, but Terrence Mann at 4K, like he could be in the conversation. But the problem is I think we're just going to get enough value where he's just not going to be as great of a play compared to some of these other guys. Now, if value doesn't fall the way that we need it to, I think Terrence Mann is more interesting. Reggie Jackson, I think, he has a 50-point ceiling at that price tag of 6'1", and you can't always find guys at 6'1" that have that 50-point ceiling and upside who are going to be the main guy on their team. I know the matchup is not the easiest, but there are guys that you could run it back with if you want to, if you think it stays close. JT, I'll go over to you. How are you handling this game with this Jimmy Butler news?
The Butler news is another piece of news that's massive because, Hoop said it. All of a sudden, you've got Bam, who goes to an absolute priority because of the per minute numbers that he puts up when Butler is out. Tyler Hero becomes an absolute priority as well, because he's going to have the ball in his hands for 40 minutes of that game. And then you have the lower priced Heat that you can play as well on board as well, with just completely avoiding this Clippers train wreck. Whoever shoots 2 baskets in a row gets an extra 35 minutes from Ty Lue, and I want no part of that.
Yep, definitely don't want too much of Ty Lue. We know he can be a disaster, and it's always good on these bigger slates to avoid some of these coaches. Hoop, would you agree? Like those coaches that can just be a disaster at times. Like, is it good to kind of avoid them on these bigger slates sometimes?
Yeah, certainly, especially if there's no priority plays, which with the Clipper situation, there's not like a priority play that you need to be on. So it's always good to use that as a tiebreaker too. Or if you're deciding between two guys, does this guy have a reliable coach or a donkey coach? All right, well, I'm going to go with the reliable coach because I know what I'm getting. So it's always something to consider in the NBA.
And we still haven't mentioned this on the show. Well, JT mentioned it. Hit the like, hit subscribe on the video. Helps us out a ton. We're at 180 likes. Hoop, what's the number we got to get to? We got 450 watching. We're at 180 likes. So we're not doing too bad of a job. I assume we might get the 500 watching by the end. What are we thinking for the number here on the likes?
Yeah, it's a pretty good start for sure without mentioning too much. The Friday shows had just great momentum and great mojo here for a few weeks. be semi-aggressive. I think we can get to 275 today with some ease, and we're probably going to get over 500 people. 275. Bring the mojo into the weekend here.
Yeah, and I mean, the way JT came on the show, he said, I already have my play of the day. We got to get that home to the 275. So smash that like button, knock on the neighbor's door, tell them to hit that like and check out the show. JT, also, you are responsible for telling people that it's the coordinator's birthdays at Run Pure Sports. Do you know whose birthday it is? I mean, you got to tell the people and let them know so they can wish this guy a happy birthday.
I didn't until late in the day. I happened to jump in and check out the coordinator chat, but it's my guy too. It's the guy I spend every Thursday night with, spend every Sunday morning with him for most of NFL season. It's Tambolicious, Tyler Tamboline. Hit him up in the Discord, hit him up on Twitter, get in his DMs, slide in, let him know that happy birthday.
Maybe hit him with a happy birthday gift, right? Everyone loves a good gift, whatever you want to call it. Everyone loves that. So hit him with a happy birthday. Tambo would love to hear from you. So say happy birthday to old Tambo, and he'll be bringing all the content with you. You guys did the Mayo. Did you do the Mayo show last night, JT?
We did. It's out today. Run Pure Sports retweeted it. We had a fun time talking about the two games on Sunday, and we gave some prize picks out. So check it out, Mayo Media Network, and go ahead and subscribe to that network as well. It's great. Great stuff Pat Mayo does.
There you go. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about the next game, and it's the Portland Trailblazers and the Houston Rockets, which as of right now, people are going to be loading up on Blazers, which, sure, I think that could work out, but I don't know if I want to load up on Blazers because I think some of the news is going to hit and it's just going to change the slate. And of course, things will change, but Nurkic is $8K. And I think Nurkic can get the job done at the price tag, but it does feel like a hefty tag. And we talked about how the center position can be kind of deep today. Simons is only 6'8", which I think that's not a bad tag. CJ McCollum is at 7'3", which he's been doing okay. So I think, he's working himself back. I think that there is still a ceiling there, and he still seems like a safe option that you could even consider in cash games at 7-3 if you wanted to. Norm Powell at 6-1. There's definitely some guys here to like because they're going against the Rockets, and the Rockets are not good at basketball. And the Blazers, they happen to be road favorites, which doesn't happen often. They are 3.5-point favorites. And then we also have news with Christian Wood that we are waiting on. That is obviously going to be big. We got Kevin Porter Jr. news. That is big as well. So Hoop, how are you handling this one? Because again, we could get that Lakers news and it could not fall the right way. And you could just say, that's okay. Let's wait a little bit longer and adjust for those games later on. How are you adjusting for this game? Because this is one that is definitely one that we are going to want to get into our lineups.
Yeah, I mean, Portland's been a disaster overall this season, but they find themselves in probably one of the better spots you can possibly be in. On the road, not on the road, but playing against Houston Rockets, they're 3.5-point favorites here, projected to score 119 points. And their key guys are priced pretty fairly. I think Anthony Simons at 6'8", strong option. CJ McCollum at 7'3", strong option. Norman Powell at 6'1", back to playing full minutes. What did he get last time? 36 minutes at 6'1", good play. Nurkic, good play. I have a hard time imagining three of these guys don't pay off their price tag tonight. So I'm going to have heavy exposure to the core pieces here for the Trailblazers. The one guy I'll probably be lowest on is Nurkic because he's the one guy that priced up a little bit, and center is just so loaded tonight. So Nurkic is the one guy I'll be a little lower on, but Simons, McCollum, Powell, love those guys. And like I said, I think 2 out of those 3 have massive games tonight. So definitely on them. On the Rocket side, a little more difficult because we have Christian Wood questionable and Kevin Porter Jr. questionable. Man, still just a tough team. Even if those guys sit, where do we go? Who are the guys we play? Is it Jayshawn Tate? I'd keep him in my player pool. I mean, Eric Gordon, Jalen Green. I think all those guys would be fine options, but I just have a hard time prioritizing Rockets players at this point in the season. So regardless of Wood, Porter, my focus is going to be on the Portland guys, and I really like those guards and small forward and Powell.
Yep, definitely like those Portland guys a lot. I do want to call out Jalen Green's price tag. Man, if the news does hit it, 4-1, I'd consider it for sure, but there is some risk to it, obviously. Sengun is a center, which is, if I had the power forward eligibility, be a little bit better. He is power forward eligible on FanDuel at 4K. I think he's going to be in play as a guy that could get a nice usage rate, and I could see him start. I could see him come off the bench. There's a lot of ways they could go with it. They can even go Tice. So there's so many different ways I think you could see this go. JT, how are you handling this Blazers and Rockets game? Because this is one that we definitely can't be ignoring on this slate.
No, I agree with Hoop on the Portland side. The other thing I'll mention with CJ Ellaby, doubtful. He took a bunch of the minutes that were going to Covington, and Little Covington is questionable, but Ben McLemore just 3-5 in this matchup. He would probably get a few more minutes with Ellaby out. Again, with all the value, maybe it's not a place you need to go. And then on the Houston side, if both Porter and Wood are out, you talked about Şengün, who's the center, and you've got all these guards, though. You've got Jalen Green at 4-1. Armani Brooks might start at 3-1. Josh Christopher is 3-2. You have Jayshawn Tate, who, remember, there was a game earlier this season where a bunch of these guys got hurt mid-game. Tate ended up with 60 fantasy points. So Tate at 5-4 on DraftKings, very, very interesting if both those guys get ruled out, which, because it's Steve Silas and the Rockets, we probably won't know about until maybe exactly 30 minutes before game time.
Yeah, that news will definitely be big. Also, are you waiting on that Robert Covington news to play your boy Tony Snell, JT? Is that what's happening here? Is he going to be the play of the day out of nowhere for us?
No, it's clear what the Blazers are doing. Chauncey Billups, an absolute genius, understands that other teams know the threat of Tony Snell. Other teams know the pure shooting, the pure talent. He's basically a decoy on this team. Such a smart move. Put him out there, let him run around, and let the other guys do the work. Very, very smart. Tony's not playable for that reason.
All right, let's move on over to the next game. Let's talk about this Nuggets and Pelicans game, which we do have some news here as well, which, man, people could just get this other piece of news and then they look at this game and maybe this news just gets overlooked compared to some of the other stuff. It's just certainly how it could go on this slate. Hoop, I'll go over to you because we definitely need to figure out, Will Barton, it seems like he's going to play, and Jokic is always a great spend up, but we got to figure out what's happening with Hart, Ingram, and Valanciunas, because I see them all as questionable on this slate, which that's pretty big. If those guys are out, and it could just be even one or two, that could open up a couple guys, but then it could open up all these guys. We played the Pelicans the other night. We saw how great some of these plays were. How are you handling this news with Hart, Ingram, and Valanciunas, Hoop?
Yeah, so another 8 p.m. Eastern game. If we whiff on some of the other news, we have another option here that could potentially, have value plays falling our way. If all those guys are out, we're going right back to Devontae Graham, who got the job done the other night. We're going back to Alexander Walker, potentially Garrett Temple, Herb Jones, Willie Hernan-Gomez went off with Valanciunas out. So really need to see. It depends. If 2 of these guys are in, Pelicans are probably out of play. If 2 to 3 are out, we're going to be coming here and probably playing 3 or 4 different guys. News all depends. It depends what happens here. On the Nuggets side, we know who the good plays are. Jokic, he's expensive, 12-6, center's loaded. Can you go there? Sure. Is it going to be easy? Well, it depends on the news, and I'd actually prefer him if the Pelicans guys are in, because the likelihood of this game staying close goes up. I don't know if I'd really play anyone else regardless. Maybe Will Barton a little bit, 35 minutes, 47 fantasy points last time out. I guess he'd be a fine play. But, on the Pelican side, it all depends on who's in, who's out. And the nice thing is with guys out, we know who steps up and plays big for the Pelicans. Alexander Walker has done it all season. Willie Hernan-Gomez, if he starts, very likely to go off. So it's easy to identify the plays, but it's another game where we have to wait on the news.
Yep, definitely have to be waiting on this news. JT, how about you? Do you know what you're doing with this game? And is Jokic going to be a spend up that you're looking at on this slate at that deep center position?
He's not right now. It depends on whether or not those guys are in. I might not know that. 12-6 is kind of, for DraftKings, that's kind of the point on these huge slates, right? We have an 11-game slate. We already talked about Bam. We talked about Nurkic. There's another center in one of these later. Actually, there's 2 more centers, lower price points. So let's say that Jokic gets the average that he's been doing, right, which is right around 68 to 72 points. That's nice. It's 6x. He's 12-6. So I think you can get replacement value. If all those guys are in, then you sort of get worried about, all right, now it's in the position of where if he gets 80, then it does hurt you. But I think where I'm going here, at least at the start of the night, is I'm not gonna be having a lot of players from this game, at least at the start, depending on what that news is. I might pivot over to some of the Pelicans.
Yeah, definitely going to look at some of these Pelicans. The news hits right. We'll move on to the next one though, and this is one that I don't know if we're going to play too much of. It is a DeMar DeRozan revenge game, so I know everyone is excited about that. I'm sure the chat will make sure to let me know as well. But it's the Bulls and the Spurs, and DeJounte Murray seems like a stud that I can go to at 10K. I think I'm going to consider him as an option. He just keeps absolutely crushing every single game. It's not a matchup that I'm in love with, but it is a nice close game. 232.5 total. I think that you can make an argument to play Murray or even a DeRozan at that power forward position. Hoop, what are you doing here with this game? It does feel like we're just going to get so much news that hits that this game just going to get completely overlooked, and kind of for good reason, because I don't think you need to go to too many guys unless it's some spend up options.
Yeah, this is kind of like a last ditch effort type game. If all our other plans fall through and we have to play some guys here, cool. It's a 232 total, close spread. Like, you can find plays here. Like, you can play DeRozan, Levine. Vooch is pretty expensive. On the Spurs side, yeah, Murray is great. Derek White, Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl. So there are plays here. The ones that I like quite a bit. Jakob Poeltl just crushes every single game. I mean, he just goes essentially off for his price tag. 50, 38, 37, 49, 37, 46 fantasy points. They're going to need his body tonight against Vooch. Definitely like Poeltl tonight. Keldon Johnson, kind of rounding into a bigger role here, playing more minutes, has been pretty productive as of late. So those would be my two favorite guys. In terms of the spends, probably not coming here for spends. But yeah, Poeltl and Keldon Johnson, I do like quite a bit tonight on the slate. If I was going anywhere else, it'd probably be DeRozan. I think DeRozan is a fine play at like 8.5. Don't see myself going to Vooch at 9.6. So we do have some plays here. Prefer those Spurs guys a little bit more.
Yep, I agree with everything you said there. And one thing to mention with Poeltl, you might see that game yesterday and say, well, he shot 8 for 8 and had 46 fantasy points. Well, you know what? That was his lowest usage rate of all those games that we've seen. He could obviously shoot more shots and then just miss them. Obviously, he's had 16 shot games, 12. So Poeltl could definitely have a big game. I think that he is someone that I like a little bit, but he takes up one of those center spots. I don't love that Bulls matchup as much, but you can definitely play him. Again, kind of what you said, Hoop. If some of that news doesn't fall our way, there are guys to consider here. JT, do you feel the same way as me and Hoop about this one? There are some guys you can get into your lineups, but no one that you're exactly prioritizing unless the news doesn't hit your way, right, JT?
No, I like this game quite a bit. I like this game obviously a lot more than you guys do. You've got the Bulls with Lonzo out. These starters are playing big minutes. The Spurs defense absolutely fucking sucks. I think Vooch can have a huge game here. Levine and DeRozan are both too cheap. Ayo Dosunmu is playing close to 40 minutes, and he's just 6K on DraftKings. On the Spurs side, it's an 11-game slate. It's Greg Popovich's birthday. He's going to do something to troll everyone who plays a Spur tonight. And I don't know. I guess you could play Poeltl. You could play DeJounte Murray. I'm not going to play Keldon Johnson. His ceiling is 5.5 to 6X. So, but I do like the Bulls here in this matchup. And I think with a 231 total and a 1.5 point spread, this is one of the games that I'm going to be targeting a little bit more heavily than some of the others.
One more thing to call out, and I didn't realize it, but the last game, actually the Oklahoma City game, I didn't realize he had 35 minutes. I thought it was at 32 mark, but Levine was supposed to be on that minutes limit or restriction or whatever, but I think because that game was close. But I think that Zach Levine, the minutes limit looks like it's off. I think he is good to go. So I don't hate that at 8.3. Definitely someone I should consider a little bit more. And DeRozan's 8.5 price tag ain't bad. I think I like those two more than Vucevic. So that's something I'll look at when I'm trying to figure out which studs I'm going to play. But problem is there's a stud in this next game that I want to talk about that I think I'm going to be playing here in this spot. We got the Suns and the Timberwolves, and I like myself some Devin Booker tonight at 9.9K. And no, I don't just like him because, on the eve of or the 2-year anniversary of Kobe Bryant's passing, Devin Booker just shot a million shots and went off because he loved himself from Kobe Bryant. But Devin Booker is going to put up a lot of shots right now. I mean, the usage he is seeing, I think over the last 3 weeks, it's like a 35% usage rate, which is just insane. And yeah, that price tag of 9.9K, it feels like an uncomfortable tag, but I don't think it is, especially against this Timberwolves team that struggles a ton defensively. And right now, they're not having Pat Beverly in there. That hurts them defensively. They're also playing at a faster pace. this is a spot where I think Devin Booker, even Chris Paul at 9K, it doesn't feel comfortable to pay that 9K on Chris Paul, but I think Booker is the better option at 9.9K. Also, Cam Johnson at 4.7. The price is just, it's too low still. And he's definitely one of the better values on this slate. We saw Biyombo the other night disappoint, but I mean, sure, he was 5.8K, or I think he was 5.5K the other day, and he got 27, which wasn't great, but he's had some really nice ceiling games in the past, and they're going to need his size against Cat. So there's a lot to like on this Sun side of the ball. You could even make an argument for Jalen Smith, who saw a little bit more run at 3-4 as like a really deep contrarian option. And then this Timberwolves side without Patrick Beverley, I mean, guys like D-Russ and Ant Edwards, they can definitely hit their ceiling here, I think, at this price. So a lot of guys to talk about here. Who, what are you doing with this 230 total between the Suns and the Timberwolves?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Devin Booker and he's just chucking. I mean, just shooting as much as he wants. 33, 25, 23, 35, 28 shots. So he's averaging over 25 shots a game. That's huge. They're just a very thin team right now. They just don't have the bodies. So there's not much risk here with a guy like Booker. I think a very safe option tonight. Cam Johnson on DK at 4.7, a fine option. Biyombo at 5.8, I think is a guy to keep in play too. Showing big time upside all season. On the Timberwolves side, if Russell's in and they have, with Edwards and Towns, I don't have much interest. If Russell and Patrick Beverley are out, then yeah, Ant Edwards, maybe Karl Anthony Towns become in play a little bit more, but overall here, way more excited with the Suns side. I'd probably definitely go Booker over Paul if deciding between the two. Like that number of shots is just insane, and it's going to continue for sure. So yeah, Booker by far my favorite play. Cam Johnson, I think, is a good value play. Biyombo would be my third favorite Sun guy.
Yep, definitely a lot to like here. JT, how about you? Any interest in this game? You surprised me last game, so maybe you'll just say, no, I don't like this game, and we'll move on to the next one. We'll have to see. What do you think of this one, though, JT?
Well, there's big news here. The news on Russell, the news on Beverly, and the news on Vanderbilt, who was a midday downgrade to questionable. These guys, one of two teams on a back-to-back, both McDaniel and Jared Vanderbilt playing 30-plus minutes last night. If Vanderbilt's ruled out, becomes very interesting spot to play Naz Reid at just 3.3K. So I think that's one of the cheapies that you can get in this game. Can't disagree with anything that you guys are saying about Booker and the tear that he's on. Price up there now close to 10K, but he's just taking over for a lot of the guys that the Suns are missing. And then, yes, if Russell is out and Beverly is in, still think you play Edwards and Towns. You can play Beverly at that price point, 4.3. I just don't know on this slate if I want to waste the guard spot on Patrick Beverly.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I don't think I want to waste one of those guard spots, Patrick Beverly. There's a lot of good spend-up guards on this slate. In the chat, they're talking about Booker, saying he should be a all-star starter besides Andrew Wiggins, which, man, Andrew Wiggins starting the all-star game is the dumbest thing ever. What did you guys think of that one, JT? What were your thoughts on that?
On Andrew Wiggins being a starter in the All-Star. I mean, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to push the leagues to take the voting out of the fans' hands. I mean, that's one of the most egregious things I've ever seen. By the way, in case you haven't seen it, K. Falik did put up a chart for you in the chat, and the guys have come up with maybe the greatest face replacement meme for K. Falik that I have ever seen. It's the kid Hasbullah, the Dagestani kid. And it is absolutely hysterical. I love that little kid. That little bastard's awesome. But go in there, check it out. Hit K. Falik up in the Discord. Ask him for some more charts. Hit the like button. Let's keep it going.
Did you see the JT and Tony Snell gif? That's a good one.
Yeah, that's an old one. I've seen that. I've seen that a bunch of times. I think the guys were a little surprised that I'm not on my guy Tony tonight.
Yeah, no, the old Tony Snell gif is great. The K Falik ones are funny too. And, K Falik is denying some charts. He's denying a Spurs chart from our boy, Your Mean Hector. He's asking for a Spurs chart. And K Falik said, why? And Hector said, why not? You know what I mean? Like, just give me the chart, man. Just do the job, K Falik. But I did get my chart. I asked for some before Jimmy's ejected and after Jimmy is ejected. So you guys, if you are premium members, you can check that out. Obviously, if the news breaks, now you have a reference point. So go look for that chart. Hoop, what was your thoughts on Andrew Wiggins getting the All-Star nod for the starter? Because I thought that was hilarious when we saw that last night.
I mean, the All-Star game is supposed to be a contest with like the best players in the NBA, and Andrew Wiggins is probably a below average NBA player at this point. Like if you're building a roster, like you're choosing more than half the NBA over him, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. So piss poor decision.
I would expect him to start not the All-Star game, right? So if you have guys who are not All-Stars, he would be maybe a starter in that game.
The not All-Star game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Wiggins it makes no sense, but chat's having a good time with that. Even Luka was not a starter, I believe, over Andrew Wiggins. Which
I thought they switched it over to doing like the draft thing where they named 2 captains and they drafted players.
I don't know. I also saw they were changing it up with, I don't know. There's a bunch of different things they always keep doing. When they try to make it somehow relevant and fun. Listen, just give me a decent DFS contest so I can play some guys where people don't play people, and then I can just print. Because
Wiggins might be a lock though for that, because he's going to be chucking and wanting to prove that he belongs. So he might be a good DFS play if we get a solid price on him.
He's just as likely to take a fucking nap in the corner though.
Very true. Very true.
I don't know if the 4 guys on the court will be okay with him taking those shots. And then also I also don't know if he'll get the closeout, because they might be like, okay, Andrew Wiggins, you got the start, but you don't deserve the close. So.
He'll play 6 minutes and you'll never hear him.
Never touch the ball.
The bench guys on the West will be interesting DFS wise, because we know Wiggins probably won't close. At least we'll have to see. But don't go.
I love that you're already breaking down the All-Star game, Mango. And Sweet Travis never stops thinking 10 steps ahead.
Listen, someone's got to be 10 steps ahead. That's why I haven't been caught yet, JT. That is why I haven't been caught. I'm always ahead of the competition. But let's go on to the Knicks and the Bucks. Let's talk about that game, which I don't understand why this game is happening at 10 o'clock at night for Milwaukee, but it just is. Maybe it's one of those rescheduled COVID games that Dr. Hoopchi has taken out of happening. We're all good. We got guys playing basketball games, no more canceled games. And we got Giannis on a late night hammer, and he's not going to be owned at all against the Knicks team. They are 9-point favorites. Hoop, I don't think I'm waiting to roster guys from Tom Thibodeau today. I also don't think I'm waiting to roster guys from Mike Budenholzer. I think I'm just going to full fade this game. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, not much excitement here. Knicks, tough spot for them on the road against Milwaukee. You look at Milwaukee, they're basically back to full strength, no price breaks on any of these guys. Great game to fade. I mean, I have way more interest in that Pistons Magic game than I do on this one. Like, nothing here for me to I have more interest in Celtics Hawks. I have more interest in Pacers Thunder. This is like my least favorite game, by far.
Yeah, if you fade Lakers and Hornets today, you know what that means? You are on to the Knicks and Bucks showdown slate. So you will be grinding in the Discord chat, trying to get those winners figured out. Do not fade that Lakers and Hornets game. I'm sure the news is going to hit pretty well there on that one here soon. But JT, are you going to be loading up on some Bucks and Knicks showdown, or are you playing them on the main slate instead?
Yeah, I'm definitely not playing the showdown. I'm not sure why this game is at 10 o'clock. They should have played this game at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because nobody, unless you're a Bucks fan or a, sadly, Knicks fan, gives a fuck about this game. So definitely count me out on this one.
We know Title will be jumping around with the antlers on in the Deer District. Excited.
He will be in the Deer District, yes.
The Deer District will be popping for this game. It's on ESPN, I think, as well. So definitely not a game I'm looking forward to watching. I'll be watching some other ones tonight. And we did get news. DeAndre Hunter, he is game time decision along with Danilo Gallinari. And we got to get those likes up. We're at 238 and we got to get to 275. And I'm going to give us one last push effort while I talk about some of the news here. So guys, hit that like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, helps us out a ton. And then also we got the Up the Lock show coming up next. You got JSU breaking it down. I believe you'll have Big T breaking it down as well. I know he's at that Tournament of Champions this weekend, so wish him luck on that. Big T will be trying to take that thing down this weekend. And, we got one more piece of news. Josh Jackson is active, but Hoop, let's give the people some time because I didn't mention the like button, before. How is the PGA sweat looking for you? And do you have any NFL takes going into this weekend for the people?
Yeah, PGA, pretty good so far. Our boy Sahith Thigala, I know Snyder's been super high on him. Sitting in 7th place right now. He's one of the main value plays for all the RPS people. We were big on Ryan Palmer sitting top 10. John Rahms, obviously, he actually just double bogeyed sitting in 3rd. But yeah, PGA's off to a good start. In terms of the NFL this weekend, I know a lot of people, a lot of the RPS people are on the Niners here, but man, I think the Rams take care of business in that game. I don't know if they'll cover the 3. I just think the Rams win that game, and then the Chiefs, I think, could potentially destroy the Bengals. I mean, it's a cute story and a super high on Burrow moving forward. Jamar Chase probably will be one of the best wide receivers in football moving forward, but they have to fix that offensive line. Chiefs defense has been good. I think the Chiefs can have their way. So I think Rams in a close game, Chiefs potentially in a blowout.
All right, JT, I don't think our boy Colin heard us, but he asked Dante DiVincenzo at 3.8 on DK. Tell him no. And then also tell the people to hit the like and give me your NFL takes for this weekend. Give them a little preview of what they might find on that, video with you and the birthday boy Tampa.
Yeah, 468 watching, 257 likes. I'm tempted to shut my camera off right now. What is this? I might even demand 300 in the next 3 minutes in order to give out the plays. What have you guys been doing? And hit the like button, subscribe, wish Tambo a happy birthday, get in the DMs of K Phallic, who someone just posted a lovely little GIF there, K Phallic slapping us all. But let's get this up. So, yeah, we talked about it. We talked about this first game, the Bengals and the Chiefs. I think there'll be some scoring here, but I do think that it's probably more likely that the Chiefs get to their 3rd Super Bowl in a row. And then we talked about that second game. Of course, the Niners with 4 straight wins against the Rams. Rams looked great to start that game against the Bucs. Didn't look so great in the second half of that game where they let them almost catch all the way up. So definitely I expect to see 2 good games on Sunday. But I think I'm on the other side of that Rams 49ers game, as much as I hate to say it because I hate Kyle Shanahan. And think he makes, some really poor late game decisions. But if the Rams are having that much trouble closing teams out, this 49ers team at full strength is a really, really good football team.
All right. And as you close there, JT, we got the 276. The people pushed it home. They got the good mojo flowing, says Stephen Coy in the chat. So we want to get those banger hits tonight, as Steven says. So we want to have a good night. We want to keep that mojo flowing. So let's keep it going. And let's move on to the plays of the day. And I'm going to kick it off first, and I'm going to go with someone towards the top, and I'm going to go with Devin Booker. I liked Murray the other night. I still like him tonight, but I think Booker is going to be someone that I just don't think people will play. They're going to go to other options. There's Lamelo Ball, who's already going to soak up a guard position spot. John Morant, people play. There's so many guards at the top that people will go to, where I think Devin Booker gets overlooked in this matchup against the Timberwolves, and I think he gets the job done. So give me Devin Booker as my play of the day. Let's move on over to Hoop and get that rich parents play of the day. We want to get that bad taste out of our mouth from yesterday. So let's hear it, Hoop. Who is the guy? Who is the rich parents play of the day?
Yeah, guard's actually really loaded when you start looking at this. So many really good guard plays. Super high on the Trailblazers. Talked about it at length. So play of the day is going to be a Trailblazer. I like Simons. I like McCollum. I said, give me Norman Powell, 6.1K on DK, back to 35 minutes. Seems to flourish in these games against shitty teams. I think Powell could have a big game here. Should play between 35, 40 minutes. I think he gets us a 40 fantasy point game. So Norman Powell is going to be the rich parents play of the day.
I like that, Hoop. And he's also small forward eligible. Don't put him in that shooting guard spot. Put him in the small forward, I think, is the right way to approach it. But depends on your construction, and K Falk will get on you. Make sure it is in the small forward spot, not in like the forward spot. So you have all that flexibility, right? I'm always about that too. You want to have all the flexibility for your lineups. And JT, you teased it. Hopefully no one stole your play at the start of the show. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. But who is the Eiffel Tower play of the day?
Yeah, it's back like to the old days where it's just totally off the board. Maybe doesn't make a lot of sense to some people. And I was a little bit concerned that you guys were not interested in that Spurs-Chicago Bulls game because neither of these teams, recently the Bulls haven't been playing defense. The Spurs, they never play defense anymore. And in particular, they don't play defense against guards. And while the Bulls team has been without Lonzo Ball, these two guys have been doing really well, and they're coming off a tough game. They're coming from, though, one of the toughest matchups for opposing guards, the Toronto Raptors, going to one of the best against the San Antonio Spurs. And I understand that Kwame and Jamara are going to be in the audience tonight. And the Eiffel Tower play of the day is going to go for 42 or more points. He's going to go for 7X. It's Kwame Dean, Iopo, Sunmu.
All righty, there you go. JT going off the board here on his Eiffel Tower play of the day. I like it, but that is going to wrap it up for us, guys. Hit that like on the way out. If you haven't subscribed to the channel for all the content that we're going to have, we will definitely, we'll have a wood show, I assume. I don't know, with Big T with the Tournament of Champions. Is that correct? We'll have a wood show for the people on Sunday?
Yeah, well, I believe normal time slot. I'll verify that with Big T, but we'll be on at some point Sunday breaking down that slate. And it's going to be a big one from a fantasy and sports betting perspective. So we'll be breaking it down on Sunday for sure.
Yep. And, before K Phallic gets on me, on the schedule, there was no Print Factory show yesterday. That's because Big T's difficult schedule. He's a busy man. He's out there getting massages. He's being the GOAT. He's doing everything he can out there. The Print Factory was last night. So if you did not check it out, it's already on the YouTube channel to watch for free. Big T, you got ODB, JSU, and Dunkel. They all broke it down. But coming up next, it's JSU, I believe, with Holden and Big T, breaking it all down, leading you up to lock. So check that out. But that's going to wrap it up for us, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. For me, Mangone, Hoop, and JT Hayes, good luck tonight and get some banger hits.